In a flashback scenario from October 31, 1978, Deputy Frank Hawkins mistakenly kills his colleague while attempting to free him from the grip of Michael Myers. Additionally, he stops Dr. Samuel Loomis from killing Michael. In 40 Years, on October 31, 2018, Hawkins makes a death threat and laments not enabling Michael to be put to death. Michael started terrorizing and exacting retribution on the residents of Haddonfield one by one as he was consumed with rage, hatred, and retaliation. Meanwhile, Tommy Doyle celebrates the 40th anniversary of Michael's imprisonment along with fellow survivors Marion Chambers, Lindsay Wallace, and Cameron's father, Lonnie Elam, all having encountered Michael in 1978. Firefighters responding to Laurie Strode's burning house unknowingly release Michael, who slaughters them with their own equipment. Michael managed to escape and brutally massacred everyone he met. Since everything Michael did beyond human comprehension, one may conclude that Michael had become insane and was no longer capable of using common sense. In the meantime, the residents of Haddonfield are dressing up for Halloween night as they celebrate. The inmates gradually started to discuss their childhood tales or experiences, but they were unaware that Michael was still active outside. As Michael kills Laurie's neighbors before returning to Haddonfield, Laurie, her daughter Karen, and her granddaughter Allison are transported to Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, where Laurie undergoes emergency surgery and loses a lot of blood from the dagger wound she sustained. Apparently Michael almost killed him, but Laurie managed to survive despite having to endure serious injuries. Karen, whose hands are covered in blood, begins to wash and clean herself at the hospital, where her mother is being treated. The team of doctors began to operate on Laurie, while Karen and her daughter Allison could only pray and hope that their mother and grandmother would both be successful and recover as usual. The doctor said that the operation would take quite a while because the incision wound in Laurie's stomach was quite large. Karen and Allison encouraged each other that things would be fine. They had been devastated by the death of Ray Nelson, Karen's husband and also Allison's father, who was brutally murdered by Michael Myers. While Michael is approaching, a husband and wife are conversing in another location while the wife is playing with a drone at her home. When Michael successfully sneaks inside the home, he is ready to murder them both. The husband instructed the wife to call the police, but all of a sudden Michael viciously attacked him, killing him, and he later bled to death. Meanwhile, the wife tried to stop Michael by hitting him with a bottle, but instead she was killed by Michael by sticking a neon light shard into her neck, which eventually died. Not only that, to make sure the husband and wife were dead, Michael stabbed the husband many times and the wife could only watch it with resignation, which in the end she died from the severe wound on her neck. The situation in the city became increasingly chaotic. The police came to the scene to investigate the case. Michael kills people very viciously. He has dark eyes, so he doesn't care anymore who he kills, no matter whether he knows or not the prospective person he will kill. The two offenders who managed to escape were among the detainees who were involved in the bus accident that was reported on TV the other day. Then, the authorities gave residents the go-ahead to stay inside unless they had an emergency that required them to leave. When they realized this, the partygoers scattered. When a couple was going to become Michael's next victim, the man went back into the bar claiming he had forgotten something there, while the woman went first to the car. How startled the woman was to see someone seated in the back seat who she mistook for Michael Myers. Suddenly the woman ran to the bar to catch up with her lover. When residents flocked to the car to surround Michael Myers, suddenly the car went off the road and hit a building that stopped the car. When approached, it turned out that the driver had fled, leaving a riddle for the residents. Elsewhere, a couple living in Michael Myers' former home were celebrating Halloween night alone. They didn't realize that Michael was on their way, but before that, they were surprised by the behavior of a teenager wearing a costume and scaring them. To frighten the teenager, they recounted that once, when Michael Myers was still living in the house, he killed his sister who was on the top floor of the house. The youngsters returned to the house after running away in terror upon hearing the tale. A wireless emergency alert informs Tommy, Marion, Lindsay, and Lonnie about Michael's killing spree. Vanessa, a patron at the bar, allegedly runs into Michael in her car, but the driver wrecks and flees on scene. Tommy gathers a gang of enraged Haddonfield citizens to track down and murder Michael. While this was happening, numerous police officers arrived at the hospital to question Allison and Karen over the tragedy that was befalling her. Michael Myers is still alive and presently roaming the streets of Haddonfield, one of the detectives tells Karen. When the detective is informed that Michael is still alive, Karen is shocked and withholds this knowledge from Laurie to give her time to get over it. Allison reconciles with Cameron, her ex-boyfriend, and she joins Tommy's mob to avenge her own father's death. Laurie and Hawkins both awaken in the same room and reminisce about their former relationship. Allison reunites with her boyfriend. They join forces with other citizens to devise a plan on how to defeat Michael Myers. The citizens are gathered, and will attack Michael Myers tonight. It turned out that there were still residents who played outside at night. Then they told the people to go home, because the situation and conditions outside were in danger. Michael suddenly appeared and attacked them casually. Michael kills one by one the residents he meets in a very vile way. But there is a woman who managed to survive Michael's pursuit and hide under a bridge. Karen still hasn't notified Laurie that Michael is still alive and is tormenting the patients at the hospital because Laurie's health is still precarious. Laurie, though, gave off the impression that something wasn't right. While Michael Myers was still being ambushed and attacked by locals, they were horrified to see many victims laying in a park. The situation at the hospital was deteriorating in the meantime. One thing is certain, the situation outside is no longer secure. The locals congregated there because Michael Myers frightened them. In the midst of the uproar, the locals started to declare that no matter what happened, they will tonight vanquish Michael Myers' evil. The townspeople were sick of Michael Myers and chased after someone they believed to be him, but it turned out to be a patient who was actually seeking assistance from the hospital. When Karen noticed this, she tried to assist him by hiding him in a room, but due to the inhabitants' already high levels of rage, the man ultimately committed suicide by falling to his death. Laurie eventually learns that Michael is still alive as a result of the commotion that took place at the hospital. Even if Karen forbids it and stays in the hospital for rest, Laurie leaves the hospital by injecting painkillers because she feels compelled by Michael's recovery. Return to Michael's former home, where the couple is enjoying a beautiful evening. Suddenly they were interrupted by a noise from behind which turned out to be Michael. They were finally killed one by one in a very heinous way. While warning the Haddonfield community to stay inside their houses, Marion, Vanessa, and her husband Marcus are killed by Michael. Lindsay escapes and is found alive by Tommy, Lonnie, Allison, and Cameron. The group map out Michael's path and his victim's location and deduce that he is heading towards his childhood home. Tommy takes Lindsay to the hospital and reunites with former Haddonfield Sheriff Lee Brackett, whose daughter Annie was killed in 1978, and informs Laurie about Michael's survival. Across town, Michael murders the current owners of his home as Laurie prepares to leave the hospital. Lance Tovely, a fugitive convict from Smith's Grove Psychiatric Hospital and Vanessa's car driver, who escaped alongside Michael when their bus crashed, arrives and is mistaken for Michael. Tommy's mob pursue him through the hospital before Karen realizes that he is not Michael. Despite her attempts to calm the mob and help Lance, he jumps out a window to his death. Laurie urges Karen to work with Tommy and Brackett to hunt Michael down. Elsewhere, Lonnie heads in alone to Michael's home and is killed. Allison and Cameron rush inside and find his corpse before being attacked by Michael, who murders Cameron. Allison and her boyfriend are shocked when they reach Michael's former home and find that the owner is dead. Then Michael attacks him and his boyfriend, but unfortunately for Dylan, who is finally killed by Michael. Karen and the citizens lure Michael into a trap. They were able to encircle him and attack him all at once, killing Michael. Karen stabs Michael in the back with a pitchfork, steals his mask, and teases him to follow her as he gets ready to murder Allison. She drags Michael into Tommy's horde, which swarms, charges, and kills him seemingly. When the mob splits up, Michael resurfaces and murders everyone, including Tommy and Brackett, in the mob. Karen returns to Michael's house and investigates while Allison receives medical attention. In the old bedroom of Judith Myers, Michael shows up and stabs Karen to death as Laurie watches from her hospital bed.